Welcome to the Rocket Roof Show, where we equip fellow roofers to do more commercial business every first and third Thursday of the month. It's time to launch your business to the next level.
This is Project Command. Stand by power transfer.
3, 2, 1, blast off!
Hello, welcome back to another episode of the Rocket Roof Show, where we educate and equip roofing contractors for the commercial industry. And I'm so happy today to have a new guest with me, Jeffrey Marcus with Certifly LLC, a really cool, revolutionary company that's really changed in how we use and look at drones in this space. And so really want to I'm excited to bring him on board because I've seen his stuff and we've communicated a little bit online. And I really want to get him on here to talk about what drones are doing in our space, in our commercial roofing space. So welcome to the show, Jeffrey.
Thank you very much, Andy. Very glad to be here.
Yeah. So let me ask you, how did you get started in the industry? And give me a little snippet about your background. Where you've been and how you got to where you are now.
Yeah, that's really great. So I had a career in marketing and business development for quite a while. Back in 2002, I landed at a company that was the forerunner of EagleView. It was called Pictometry. Mm-hmm. So Pictometry, oblique aerial images that are measurable. That was my company from a perspective of reselling that data to a variety of different roofing contractors, insurance companies, resellers of data. EagleView just happens to be one of them. And at the same time, working with those types of companies in order to deliver a really good product, which was at the time roof measurements. So basically been doing specific measurements since 2002, and then working with a variety of different companies, EagleView, Hover, in that space.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Awesome. So I guess it goes without saying that as time goes on, these programs and these apps that we use with all of these things going on in the background, they're only going to get more accurate, right?
Yeah, and drones is the way of being more accurate. Yeah. I can segue into that. Specifically, when you're taking a picture using a drone, you can either take it like 1 or 2 feet away, which is fantastic, right? Documenting, or 200 feet high, which is what we do. It's about 3/8 of an inch per pixel resolution. Your normal aerial photography is about 2,500 feet up in the air. So your EagleView, when it's flying and it's mowing the sky, it's about that high.
Yeah.
So it's about 4 to 6 inches, that resolution, that pixel size.
Yep.
With a drone, like I say, if you zoom in, it's about 3/8 of an inch. Really tight.
If anybody's ever looked at a EagleView or a Google picture and they're like, is that a drain or is that just a
is it a shadow? Is it a pipe? Is it a leaf?
Yep.
Is it a bird poop? Yeah, absolutely. Yep. That was the hardest thing at Pictometry. They would want us to be able to identify that stuff. But if it's at 6 inches, is what most of the country is, and what you see in Bing Maps or Local Live at the time, you couldn't drill in more than 6 inches. You couldn't see a crack unless that crack was beyond 6 inches.
Yeah.
So yeah, you definitely couldn't do it with a drone. You can definitely do it. And from an accuracy perspective, it's not just the resolution of the imagery, but how recent is that image?
Right?
Because you're taking that particular picture, you took it a moment ago, and now you could do whatever you want with it, but at least you know it happened a moment ago, not 6 months ago, 6 years ago.
Or what was the weather that day, or what season was it, right? Winter,
that's
summer, fall?
True. That's agnostic as well. I mean, you can fly drones, generally speaking, above flying. Like you could do it in the winter, but at like say an EagleView, they're going to do it leaf off, late fall or early spring. But that doesn't mean the summer, and it doesn't mean the winter either. Right. So it's only like really 2 seasons. A drone, you could really do it in 4.
Right.
Yep.
So I was meant to ask this question a little earlier on, but I really wanted to ask this because it's changing all the time. But how much have drones changed the roofing industry? Like, I started in 1998. Never even heard of a drone. Never even heard of a drone.
Right, that's true.
And then in like 2010, we started hearing like people playing with them and not really using them for work other than the military.
Right.
And all of a sudden, like it was like 2014, 15. It's like now they're making. It was like DJI just started making these things, and roofers were buying them.
Right.
And so now it's 2021, and it's like most people have one or have access to one. So talk to me about how much has it changed the roofing industry, and are you being left behind if you're not using one?
Well, people are still antsy. I would say that they're worried about licensing and registration. It's not so much the cost. The roofers have the money. The salespeople, because they're 1099 nowadays, they're asked to buy one, so they're going and starting with these smaller level drones. But it's the higher level drones that most people can do the work that they want to do, whether it's measurements or better image quality, being able to, stay up in the air for a longer period of time, along those terms. But most of it's done for documentation and inspection. That's really what the drone has been used for today. And that's really changed the industry, because if you're documenting it from the ground using a drone and not necessarily climbing up on the roof and using scaffolding or using a D-ring and clicking in, you could be a lot more safer, and the drone's going to allow you to do that. So safety is probably a big issue. People that use drones don't fall off roofs.
Right. Yep. And, if you're up there inspecting a roof, you get what, a minute or two to look at it. Whereas if you have a picture, you can revisit that picture a million times.
That's right. And with video, you can do that. I've seen people tell me that they'll use video from a drone to document the inspection that goes along with the adjuster. So here's the roofer, here's the adjuster. The roofer's over here, the adjuster's over here. The roofer's like, hey, what about that damage over here? And the adjuster doesn't even see it because he's looking over in a different direction. They actually have the drones flying and documenting that too.
Okay.
Awesome. Just a CYA perspective.
So next question, what new trends do you see coming in the next 6 to 12 months?
Oh, that's interesting. So what we think is that there's going to be other manufacturers that are going to come on board. There's companies called like Autel and Skydio. I guess Skydio's got something going on with Eagle View. There's a press release that's out there, but we think that there's going to be more and more American manufacturers that are going to be using drones. That said, it's got a long way. Just because you start doesn't mean that you're going to control the market. I run essentially a networking group, a Facebook group called Drones for Contractors. I survey everybody that comes into that group, and over 1,000 different people, 950 of the people that have admitted they have a drone and specific to the model are all DJI drones. So that's like the 800-pound gorilla. It's not like really going anywhere. It'd be hard pressed to move them off that. So even though I'm saying it's going to happen slowly because of the way America wants to buy American stuff, it's still going to be a long ways before they do that.
And I've crashed a couple DJI drones, and they are tough. I mean, I crash them and change the blades out, and they fly again. It's like, holy cow! That's
right. They clip. The sensors is really what keeps them safe. And the higher end models have got more and more sensors. The last one was a Mavic Pro, and that's got 6 sensors: front, back, 2 sides, up and down. So it's kind of like a 360. Air brakes in the sky, comes by, stop, turn around, come back, whatever you need to do, but prevent it from hitting it.
And I want to clarify for our listeners, just to kind of preface this, is you're not an expert in the actual flying of the drone and actually the makings of flying and piloting a drone. You're on the programming side and making sure that the programming, the Pictionary, and the platform and everything works good. So
That's right.
So if you have any specifics in the chat about the flying of the drone, that's for a different guy.
That's actually true. Anybody who's got a drone has got more experience flying the drone than I do.
Okay.
Yep.
So another question is, are there any new regulations? Actually, no, I want to, on the other question, 6 to 12 months for new trends. Do you see any new trends coming in the next 5 years? I know a lot of technology can change in 5 years, but
yeah. Well, I'll tell you, my partner, he's a visionary, and this is what he thinks, and I kind of tend to believe it. Basically, everybody's got a drone today, right? Everybody's got a car today. Everybody's got a bike today. Everybody's got a boat today. But what you're seeing is that people are like time sharing things, right? They pool their resources and they say, you know what? I can get a really much bigger boat with many more features if me and my 10 pals contribute $2,000 a year. Now it's a $20,000 boat rather than me spending $3,000 a year, and I still would have used it the same amount of time. So what we think is the drone itself, the drone of the future, it might be like perched on a cell tower. It might be rented for time to go off and fly a mission, do its job, and come back and basically keep the battery going. You know,
people do that with real airplanes. Now that I'm looking at aviation myself, you know, it's expensive to fly an airplane. And like you said, if you're only going to fly it once every month or every 2 months, and it's going to sit there for 26 days,
right?
You might as well have a co-owner,
right?
Or a three-way owner. Makes it more affordable, and
right. So we're thinking that whether it's on cell towers or fire department houses, wherever there is something,
water
that's,
towers,
you know, every mile or two, have a drone there. Somebody takes control of it remotely, it flies it, and comes back, does its mission, and tells you what was the story about that particular house.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
that's very interesting.
We want to take a quick minute to thank our sponsor, Top Roof Contractors. If you're looking for more commercial roofing projects or a network of vetted contractors to collaborate with, you need to take a closer look. Visit toproofcontractors.com to learn what it takes to join.
So next question, are there any new regulations or existing regulations that are being changed or removed? I know just in the last few months that there's been quite a bit of different changes that people might not be aware about.
Yeah, there is. Two of the changes that are current is the idea that you can fly over people as well as fly at night. So for a very long time, that wasn't possible, or at least you had to get permission, spend a lot of money to try to do it. Now you're able to. And from a commercial perspective, flying at night is actually important because of thermography and like FLIR cameras and attaching certain sensors that work better when the temperature is shifted. So either in early morning, just at dawn, or at sunset, that golden hour, now you'll be able to fly it and be able to do your job. That DJI, that manufacturer, they just came out with a drone. I think it's $6,500. It is meant for thermography. It's called a DJI 2, I think, Enterprise. Advanced. Yeah. And that will likely be used by your commercial roofing companies. But now they'll have not just buy it, but have the ability of using it in the time frame that it's needed to see that temperature change. Yep.
And there are people out there that I think that are doing this just as a subcontractor.
Oh, absolutely. I know like 4 of them, honestly. They've done well for themselves. They don't get out of bed unless it's like a project for like $2,500.
Yep.
They likely spent tens of thousands of dollars to be certified, get the training, get the right drone. Now that price point could come down where more people could come up and make it affordable within their own company.
Yep. Interesting. So what unique uses have you seen roofers use drones for other than just getting a picture or just getting measurements?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, we've got concepts like, safety, obviously, things where they're using their drone just to cool off their crew, just the wind from their drone. Okay. They're attaching things to that. Oh, you cut yourself. Here's a Band-Aid. I'll fly it up to you.
Yeah.
Okay. The one thing that is actually, it's more from an ROI perspective, but I'll mention it now. People that have drones will help them be reclassified for workman's comp. So it's their salesperson. If those people don't go up on the roof, then the W-2 guys, at least, they can essentially afford to reduce that insurance liability. Is essentially the ability of basically saying, oh, if you're a roofer, it's going to cost me $8,000 in workman's comp. Oh, you're a salesperson that never gets up on the roof, or maybe you just go to the gutter line, you just walk up on the ladder, peek up, underneath the I apologize. The
starter or the drip edge, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So in that situation, if they don't get up on the roof, they're just like a salesperson, just like anybody else.
Yeah.
And by reclassifying them, they can well afford the cost of the drone itself.
Right.
Okay? So definitely doing that. Job progression photos, that works a lot on the commercial side. Taking a picture in the beginning, taking a picture after you're laying it out and comparing to like what the rest of the job looks like, comparing it after it's done, getting the money back from that. You've got social media videos, Instagram, tagging your customers inside of the Facebook posts, sponsored ads, things like that. Pictures for like OSHA compliance. It's like, are we all locked in? I take this every morning when my guys get up there just to show them. We'll show them on the roof and show them all different sides of that with one picture. You've seen people do that as well. There's one thing that I like, just silly employee morale. I've seen so many team pictures where it's like, guys, get together. We're going to use the drone today. I'm going to take a picture of the group. We're all going to smile and wave. And it's like, it's silly, right? But it helps the people that are in the field, like, oh, I'm valued. Let's do this, So there's like a lot of little nuggets. That Drones for Contractors Facebook group that I referred to, those little nuggets like will appear, and I'll gather them all up. I've got a PDF and I can easily email it out, but it all comes from roofing contractors that use it on a regular basis.
If you don't mind, I can give a little plug for your group there. Do you have to have a drone to be in the group?
No, it's I originally said drone operating contractors, but it's really more drone interested contractors. So you can Facebook search it, I guess, and it's Drones for Contractors Facebook group, about 2,500 people in it today.
Do you have any questions for entry or requirements to enter?
No, just that they really have to have an interest. And I purposely keep all the marketers out, keep all the guys from the Philippines or characters or things like that. So it's all contractors.
I guess that might help you if somebody's listening to this and they apply, just mention that you heard it from this show. That might help Jeffrey to know that somebody came from listening to this. So
appreciate it.
No problem. So one of the other questions is, when people start buying a drone, it happens to everybody. They're like, man, I don't want to crash it. I don't want to, spend more money than I have to.
Right.
And I know in our initial interview, you said, it's probably one of the biggest mistakes people make is they don't buy a good enough drone. They buy a cheapie.
Yes.
And then they have a bad experience and they get turned off. So what do you say about buying, what kind of level of money should you spend? And
Yeah.
in order to have a good
There are
experience?
really three types. There are what I call hobby drones, economy drones, and professional drones. So the hobby drones are the ones that you got for your kid for $100 to $200. It said, "Merry Christmas, let's go out, let's fly this thing." Oh, it flew away and we didn't see it. Oh,
always lands in a tree or in the drive or in the road, right?
right. Yeah. It's right. Yeah. And so in this situation, yeah, we don't really ever encourage that. There are economy drones, and their price points, generally speaking, are about $500 to $1,000. They include the DJI models like the Mavic Mini, the Spark, the Phantom 3s, the Phantom 4s. They've been out for a while. They've got some good features, and they do take pictures, but what you're really doing, I'll give you an example. I never thought about it until now. When I built my house, I had like wiring put in for wherever my cable TV was going to go. So I made certain that the plugs were there, and I knew that cable was important. The old houses. So I spent a little bit of money to make certain every outlet was cable ready. Optics and all that other stuff. The same thing with a drone. You can buy those other drones and they can do a good job. But the issue is, what are they going to do in the future? And that's really what you're looking for. Are they going to have a strobe light so that you can fly at night? That's part of the new requirements. Is it going to have a remote ID, whether it's built in or eventually attached? Will it work with the technology that you're buying? Somebody told me the other day, you can buy a car, you can drive it across the country, but is it safer? Is it more efficient? Is it faster to get there with other cars than the economy car that you might have bought? Yeah. So there's definitely additional features. The biggest issue is the sensors and keeping you safe. You can literally crash. There's people that'll be spending money on the insurance for the other ones and saying, I'm going through it 2 or 3 times, but they're crashing their drone and then they're down. Their productivity, it's like, oh, I crashed it. Oh, I got to go to the store. Oh, I got to go send it into the repair shop. I might not get it back for 2 or 3 weeks. Now I'm middle of the summer and I'm out of my drone for 2 or 3 weeks. You don't even want to have that issue. Yeah.
So, okay.
Yep.
Cool. How do I calculate my ROI on a drone? My return on investment.
Okay.
Because I really think, we have this ideas that we're gonna get a drone, and it's a cool toy.
Yes.
It's not a hammer. It's not a tape measure, where we think of it as a tool. And
you should think of it as a tool.
We still think of a drone as a toy.
People can, yeah.
But how can a contractor calculate their ROI? Because $1,500 sounds like a lot of money for a toy.
Right. So the way I look at it, I already referred to the idea of workman's comp, right? So the idea here is, if I'm the owner, if I'm paying for employees, I want to buy an employee drone, can I greatly reduce that workman's comp? And there are companies out there that do that. We're associated with one of them. But from something where, hey, I'm in Florida and a workman's comp, it's about $8,000, and now it's about $800 because I switched them out. They don't go up on the roof anymore. I order the roof reports. I use my drone. Now that $8,000 is like, money from heaven. Okay. So that will pay for itself. Again, if you're trying to do some comparisons right now, you've got guys that do hand measuring, you've got guys that do eagle view and hover, and they can be expensive. They don't use it on every one, but when they do use it, could be $55 or $75. You can take that picture, DIY it yourself if you're using Xactimate or some other type of system, order a report, and there's probably about a $20 savings per report. And the reason for that, generally speaking, it's much more effective to draw with a drone image than you wondering whether or not there's a shadow on the roof, or, should I be drawing that, or, is there building lien? It's just easier and faster. So the cost is down. If you could save $20 on a report, 5 days a week or 5 days, 5 times a day, that will pay for itself.
Yeah.
There's other features that will also help when we talk about getting up on a ladder and you're using a drone. You know how there are people that are leaving the industry and they're not coming back. Everybody's graying out a little. And you want to keep those people in the industry. How do you do that? Provide them the tools that will extend their career. Yep. Now you're not spending money on training and doing it all over again. He feels safer. The guy that's 61, he's not going to retire for a few more years. Why is that? Because you've allowed him to work with the technology that's going to keep him safer.
Sure.
So
exactly.
There's that concept.
That's a good point
as well.
I know one for myself that you didn't mention. I incorporated it into my sales process. So I'm meeting with a client, asking them questions. We're walking the building. We're looking at the roof. And a lot of times the building owners in the commercial space, they don't want to get on the roof. They just like, let me know what you find. And part of my sales process, I can say, well, if you don't mind, I'm going to get out my drone. I'm going to do a aerial scan of your roof, and we're going to take some aerial photos. Just by saying that, you're setting yourself a bar higher than maybe the guy coming before you, after you.
Right.
And he's like, wow, he's using some, the drone makes you look fancy. Even if you don't do anything with it, they're just like, wow, this guy's got some cool tech.
That's what happens. Sometimes there's people that'll have the goggles on too. You'll say, hey, I'm flying it, but you watch these goggles. Let me zoom in on the flashing and step flashing. Let me show you where that leaky water actually is. Yeah. That's important. I've heard this literally like 1,000 times, but people will tell me when they're flying the drone, it's almost like the ice cream truck. It's like ice cream truck goes ding, 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 ding. It's like, oh my God, crazy. It's ice cream. They come out, the joggers stop jogging, they engage with you.
Yep.
It's like, hey, I'm here to work on this insurance claim. He thinks he had hail. Would you like me to stop by? I can easily do that. Yeah. And you're in the neighborhood. Sure. Yeah, I'll be in 10 minutes. Sure.
Yep.
So ice cream. It's really true. And people tell me that all the time.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So should I worry about flying a drone above, and you might have answered this previously, but should I worry about flying a drone above certain space or property, or taking pictures of certain space or property?
Yeah. So there's unrestricted airspace, there's restricted airspace, and there's controlled airspace. Controlled airspace is probably not where you're going to be anyways. Prisons, federal buildings, Air Force bases. Restricted is an area that's near the airports. And so they've got a buffer. You can ask for permission and it'll usually be granted. You're not flying above a 400-foot level. If your airplane is at 400 feet, we've got issues. I mean, you're like right at the fence line. Yep. But the further you're away, the higher you can actually fly. Yeah. So 200, 300, 400 feet, you can still fly it just with permission. Yep. And then unrestricted is unrestricted. The FAA controls the licensing across the U.S. They give you a license. You're expected to register your drone just like you're registering a car. A lot of guys in the commercial space, they'll think that, hey, I've got a drone and it's only, it's very lightweight. It's 249 grams, very lightweight. And what we'll learn, or what they'll learn, and this is a good forum to tell them that, is that if you're doing anything for commercial that's furtherance of your business, you have to register and you have to license. Okay, just like a car, you got to register your car and you got to license your car. It's not done on a state-by-state basis, so you don't have to check with the local town hall, check with the city. You have to go to the FAA. You take a test, it lasts for 2 years, and it'll come back in 2 years. You have to renew. First time you do it, it's like $150. The next time you don't. I don't think there's a fee at this point.
And can we provide a link in here in the comment or the chat box you can give us the link and we'll put that in there if that's
Sure.
okay.
Yeah, the FAA and how you can go sign up.
Yep.
There's also a couple of videos that are for free. If a lot of people think this is an expensive endeavor, but reality is, your training is actually flying.
Yeah.
And to pass the test, people have actually done videos to prepare themselves for that test. They put it on the internet. It's a couple hours, 2 of them, and people will watch it, take the test successfully, and be able to have a good piloting experience.
Okay, cool. So I guess that was my last question was, do I need a license where I'm at? There's probably not a place where you don't.
Right. At least in the United States. You do in Canada, they're going to have different regulations. You take it overseas, they'll have different regulations. United States kind of probably sets it for the world, and then the world kind of follows.
Yep.
So in its situation, there are certain jurisdictions that think they have like rights or authority, but those are being battled out in the courts. And so far, the FAA has won. Yeah.
And this might not, it doesn't apply to the roofing industry, but I know that I've traveled to a few places, Pictured Rocks up in the northern peninsula of Michigan.
Okay.
They don't allow drones in that space. So you're going to want to check with local municipalities too, that they don't have some kind of
there's definitely got to be a check. But if somebody comes to us and said, hey, do I need a license? We say, yeah, on a federal license. Yep. And it is a federal license, not a state license like Michigan license or New York State license. It's all under one jurisdiction. But there might be situations where it's like, well, we don't want you to fly over the school. And they probably can say that. Yeah. But at the same time, the FAA truly does have airspace jurisdiction.
Yeah. And I guess it boils down to what people don't realize is you might own your property where you're at, but you don't own the airspace above it.
That's correct. And although you didn't say this, somebody just told me this on Clubhouse. It's not a matter of like, you can fly a Frisbee, throw it, and the FAA owns that airspace. What I learned was the jurisdiction owns the ground from which that Frisbee is leaving. So they play it like that. It's like, where are you standing when that drone takes off? That's kind of like where they're setting the laws and the regulations.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. It's just going to get more intricate as time goes on, as who owns what and who's liable for what, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And God forbid the liability. That's the one thing you don't see. You don't see a lot of videos anymore where the drone flew away, where the drone's hitting somebody. Those have kind of gone away as the technology has increased.
Yeah.
Every day, more sensors. The drone doesn't swing. It doesn't sway. That's probably the biggest thing about the economy drones versus the professional drones is that there's enough weight to it. I guess the heavier weight type drones, it's stable. The ones that are, 249 grams, Mavic Minis, Mavic Mini 2s, things like that, they can move. And in a steady wind, they can move and hit something, and they don't have a sensor that's going to stop it. It just pushes them in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know I've only flown DJIs, but when I went from a Phantom 4 to a Mavic Pro 2.
Oh, good.
I just noticed like the mass of the Mavic was more concentrated, even though it probably wasn't that much lighter. I don't know the weight of it, but it just felt more solid, and it didn't bounce around as much as the
I imagine it's a smoother experience. You can drive a car, but if you drive a Ferrari, you can tell the difference. It's the same concept.
Yep.
Not that I've drawn a Ferrari.
You can rent one.
Yeah, I could. Maybe it's a good idea.
So in closing, yes. I guess it's safe to say, drones are affecting a lot of different industries, but specifically with commercial roofing. I'm not saying you're going to get left behind if you don't use a drone, but it does definitely it's going to give you an edge moving forward in the future.
Yeah, you'll be much more productive and much more efficient in your job. And when you've got competitors, you need to keep pace.
Yep. Okay. Well, anything you want to add in closing?
I can tell you what we're doing. Would that be okay?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay.
Share a little bit about what you're doing.
So I am a co-founder of a company called Certifly. Certifly creates roof measurements in real time. Today, it's about 15 minutes, and probably in the next year, it'll be about 15 seconds. But the idea is that somebody could fly a drone for about 90 seconds and get a roof measurement report returned to them. They didn't have to add in the pitch. They didn't have to put in scale. They didn't have to draw anything. They just had to order, and it's returned. Again, 15 minutes, real time, so it can impact the sale. That's the one thing that you caught me on. The ROI is increased in your close rate because you're able to quote that person on the spot. That's what we'll be able to do with the Certifly Roof app.
Okay. Awesome. And I can see in the commercial space, there's probably a lot of guys don't quote right on the spot, but I do know there's a lot of guys that might, oh shoot, I forgot to get that measurement when I was there on site, and
that's true. And
I'm an hour away. What do I do? Or I don't have time to put up the ladder, so I need something quick. Because we're always, last minute is.
And there's more things with the drone, whether it's from my company or somebody else, roof object identification, the ability of creating like a hover style report, but without the idea of you walking around, but the drone will fly around, thermography, maybe even doing interior one day. Yep.
Amazing. Awesome. Well, I'm glad to have you on, Jeffrey, and it's really exciting to hear what you're doing. And, I've always said commercial roofing is one of those things that, a lot of industries have automated things, and roofing hasn't really automated a whole lot. I mean, it's still a lot of labor, and but the drones are one way that we're automating it and making it safer in the process by allowing robots or machinery to do some of the the dangerous work.
So, that's absolutely true. I totally agree, Andy.
So awesome. In closing, is there a way that people can get a hold of you if they have a question or they want to reach out to you?
Yeah. Our website is certifly.com, CERTI, F as in Frank, LY.com. Contact us probably right there. Phone number, it'll probably reach me directly because I handle all those business development type calls. And then also from your group's perspective, the Facebook group, we're the admins of this Drones for Contractors Facebook group. So if you want to join, you have to have a Facebook account, but lots of good dialogue, lots of good update and education. And that's where I learn, right? I'm not a roofing contractor. I'm not even a drone operator. I just know it because I listen to what everybody else is doing.
Yep. And I see you ask questions on that group and do surveys.
Yeah.
I know a lot of roofers are used to marketers doing that, and they're like, well, they're just trying to sell something and be markety to me. Well, you actually are using that data to create better software, because you actually use 990 contractors are doing this.
Yeah.
So we need to do
it helps with my market research, but I also know that if you give it away, people will go in a certain direction, right? If I'm saying that there's 950 out of 1,000 and I've given them the data that literally says, here's exactly the numbers, somebody's going to say, I want a DJI drone. Why would I want something that was gifted to me? I won in a raffle. There's a whole bunch of ways people get them, but the people that actually make the decisions make it based off of input from their peers and side-by-side comparison. And I've done that, made side-by-side comparisons of the different products, and they can choose what they want, whether it works with my company's app or not. They should choose what's right for them.
Right. Sure. You're always full of value. I appreciate that, Jeffrey. Right. So if you've enjoyed this podcast, you find value out of it, I would ask you or encourage you to subscribe and like this page. And thank you for being on, Jeffrey. I really appreciate it. And I hope to see you soon.
Thank you very much, Andy. I appreciate this time.
You've been listening to the Rocket Roof Show podcast. Be sure to subscribe through your favorite podcasting platforms such as iTunes or Google Play to get the latest episodes as they are launched. For more, please follow us on social media or visit our website at rocketroofshow.com. We look forward to joining you here again soon at the next launch.